before I start, I want to state that, of course, I'm very delighted to be here this afternoon, but I came with someone called a good friend of mine and a professional colleague called Dr. Sarah Ruto. Sarah Ruto is dear to my heart because when I was thrown into the dungeon in 2016 to go and clean up the Kenya National Examination Council, very much against my will because I'm a thoroughbred university person. Sarah Ruto then was the sitting chairperson of Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. And so I had to fall back on her staff to help me to create a makeshift examination. And I remember when I took busloads of staff from Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development to some bushy place in Naivasha, and we stayed there for 72 hours. So I picked her nature there. And eventually, by the grace of God, when she was appointed the Chief Administrative Secretary, everybody knows that I am not easy to work with because I'm a kind of a slave driver. But for Sarah Ruto, we seem to be smiling all the time. And she has moved around with me doing other things, which if you like, you can go to the press and check. But why I'm mentioning her today is that I had assigned her the teacher education docket within the ministry. And you can believe it that even up to this morning in the plane, she was giving me the actual brief. So I hope that the incoming government will forget politics and perhaps just tap from her professional experience in teacher education. Maybe you can stand so that those who don't know you can see you, because you are always smiling. That is Dr. Sarah Ruto. Your Excellency, the Governor of Kisumu County, my good friend, Professor Nyang' Nyong'o, you remember also when I was at the University of Nairobi, you used to sneak in, even though you are a minister, you used to sneak in to go and teach. I'll be going through that same cycle. So, my friend, Dr. Sarah Ruto, that I've just mentioned, the Regional Commissioner, Chairman of the Kenya Music Festival, Ministry of Education officials, education stakeholders, County Commissioner of Kisumu, with whom I've worked in many places, both pleasant and unpleasant, with good results. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, including our beloved children, I am delighted to have been honored to join you in celebrating the 94th Kenya Music Festival. Coming off the heels of COVID-19 pandemic, for us to have had an event of this nature points to the importance and place of music in our lives. I would like our compatriots, our citizens, to remember that to date, I, as Magoha'S son of Magoha, I have been the only Minister of Education during the COVID-19 pandemic. So as you batter me with all forms of stones and hammers, remember that I was chairing the Ministry of Education during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that perhaps there will not be another one for a very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, music is more than just a school activity. It is life. And when I look at myself as a top-grade surgeon, whenever I'm dealing with a very difficult operation, I ask for background music. Most of the time, classical music. Wolfgang, Amadeus, Mozart. And that cools the brain enough for me to be able to realign and make sure that the operation is complete and the patient is awake, because it is not good to say the operation was successful but the patient died. We perform music as we work, as we eat, as we plant, and even as we mourn. That is why we have sustained this music festival. When you want to please your God, I think the quickest way is to sing for him, alone in your own house, so that he can have mercy on some of those things that you did when you thought he was not seeing you. The Kenya Music Festival is unique in many aspects. To begin with, it involves learners of all levels of our education system. There aren't many such activities elsewhere in the world with such a range of participants. Secondly, the range of categories performed at this festival is enormous, with over 600 classes of music, dance, and elocution. The festival brings together over 130,000 odd learners over a 6-day period of entertainment galore. This year's festival is much smaller than we would usually have done. And I want to say, like has already been said by the Kenya Music Festival, one of the misses I got as I chaperoned the ministry during COVID is that I missed the kind of warmth that I'm seeing here today. Perhaps I would have been a better minister if I was engaged in this process from the beginning. But I think that was God's plan. And I think God's plan is always the best. In the build-up to this festival, the enormous potential and talent amongst our youth and the education of our teachers has been quite evident. We have also seen an industry that is bubbling with life. For somebody who has been in charge of the examination process in Kenya for the past 6 years, I want to dare say that our children require more of such platforms other than just studying machines for the so-called examinations. We have also seen an industry that is bubbling with life. This is a testament to the robust creativity in our country, which is well harnessed, if well harnessed, will be the next big source of job creation. At this moment, I wish to challenge the Executive Committee to partner, to take music to the next level, and perhaps to also tie this with drama. Because in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Nollywood industry has now overtaken Hollywood. There are hundreds of thousands of millionaires there who create jobs, and ours is to watch them here in Kenya. Why the hell can we not create those jobs here and create scenes on our own? And music would be the first step. And if you listen to any Nigerian music, if you are watching a Nigerian movie, you might say that the themes are stale, but the background music is always original and very diversified. So I think that going forward, this should not just be a routine. We should be identifying the top grade performers and following them. And I don't want to comment about certain issues, but if I was free to comment, I would have said, this is actually the way to go, so that when a child leaves school after Form 4, you don't have to be saying, oh, I passed to go to university. Which university? You go and create a company and employ the baggers who went to university and employ hundreds of them. Because you will be talented, you'll be a film director, you'll be a music director, and you can be employing the Magoha'S grandchildren at about 1% of your income or even less. That's the life that our children must now consider, rather than saying, let me pass well so that I go to the university, so that I get a certificate, so that I stay for 20 years, so that I can get a job. I think that's a bit stupid, don't you think so? The festival helps us achieve some of the goals of education, including national unity and appreciation. I noticed the Kikuyu culture dance, and being a Mzee, I knew what they were doing. You remember, in the yesteryears, there were no clothes. So if you compare with the Nigerian movies where the king comes to select the bride, I think this was more or less in something like that. So you can imagine if the ladies are not wearing clothes and you are looking for a wife, then you get from there. And And this is important because we are losing our culture. Why are we losing our culture? Ask your grandchildren. Can they speak your mother tongue? Most probably not. So we must now, I think, go back to our cultures strongly, and music is one way to keep culture alive. Even the traditional Jaluo foods, which my grandmother used to show me, now I don't think the youngsters know what they are, unless we put them down in the book for them to follow. I wish to commend the Executive Committee of the Kenya Music Festival for the theme of this year's festival. The theme, and I quote, Kenya, my pride, my future, which aptly captures the mood of the nation. Since its independence, our country has made significant strides towards being united and cohesive. But I dare say that we still have some work to do there. When you wake up in the morning, because you must go and pass water if you are normal, whether male or female, you wake up in the morning, as you are going to the loo to pass water, do you think Jaluo, Kikuyu, or Kenyan? If you don't think Kenyan, then you still have some work to do, because those others should be on the fringe or on the fringe. I strongly believe, having grown up in Nairobi, that perhaps I behave differently. I don't know what would have happened if I grew up at my home in Yala here. But I think it's about time that Kenyans start thinking as Kenyans, and music would be one way to get there. And Bwana Wanjohi, I think that is homework for you. Are we together? Because I'm very sure that the Kikuyu dance, which was excellently performed by the girls here, was not done by Kikuyu children alone. Without partnerships, it is not easy for the Ministry of Education to handle all activities of the Kenya Music Festival. I've been informed of the effort that our partners and the Executive Committee Music have put in towards nurturing talent. But I want to say this to the private sector. Wake up and be counted. Why do you think having so much money in the bank has any value? I am actually ashamed to have just listened to the people who supported Kenya Music Festival. I hope that the next one, even though I shall not be there, will have the top banks in there and who is who to support our children. If you cannot support the children, if you can't support the children, who do you think is going to support them? And let me tell you, those with a lot of money in the bank, money in the bank is like manure in the store. It's only a fool who puts manure in the store, because manure should be in the field helping plants to grow. So for people who have reached my level or even slightly below, I think the challenge is, what is it that we are going to do to secure those who are less fortunate? And I'm actually ashamed that we had a small list. I want to register my appreciation to the Communications Authority of Kenya for being the main sponsor. This is good for government, at least after I've bashed the private sector. Your theme on the responsible and safe use of internet goes a very long way. And my main concern as I exit the basic education sector is that a decision will have to be made by this government or the next one, that as much as we enjoy the freedom of everything, including the internet, the pornographic centers must be blocked like yesterday. When I mentioned this, they said, no, you are a dictator. Yes, as far as pornography is concerned, I want to remain a dictator in everybody's mind. And I hope that a larger group of citizens will sing the same song so that children can have access, but when you want to get the pornographic channel, it is blocked like it is done in China. I don't think that is dictatorship. It is responsibility. Because you don't want your child who is going to primary school to know all types of positions of having sex. For what purpose? So this is the way I think the Communications Authority of Kenya should come out boldly Are we going to be able to say, okay, we can give smartphones to our children, knowing very well that the child doesn't just have to touch a button and see what the grandmother sees at night? The Kenya Rural Roads Authority, Kenya Railways, Brook East Africa, and all the other organizations that I have not mentioned, I can assure you that you have enabled the Kenyan youth to deliver their dream. I wish to thank the people of the Nyanza region and Kisumu. And you see, even though it was on a light note, Kenya is a rainbow country. So we, as people who come from this region, are very grateful that this festival is here. But let us not hope that it will be here next time. It should also go to other areas so that we can go there. Whoever is available can go there. I want to thank the people of Kisumu in particular for being good hosts, and more specifically to the regional commissioner and the county commissioner Kisumu, because I know this place. And if I had a child in the group, I would just be worrying, is the child safe and is the child in good company? I wish also to thank the management of the various institutions, and of course the head teacher, the principal of this school, with whom I'm very familiar. I have visited this school I don't know how many times in my many duties, because I manage like a dog. You see, a dog goes around. You will notice, you will miss me because I manage like a dog. And I've been to so many schools. I'm not one of those armchair physicians who waits for things to be brought. Last but not least, let me just say that our security agents, for the good work that they have done, I never used to understand why a regional commissioner should think he's more important than a professor. But I can assure you he's 10 times more important than a professor, because he can do so many things at the same time. Are we together? And as I thank the nation for having served in this capacity, I want to say that even though I thought I was a top-grade surgeon and professor, it is not until I was the head of this docket that I attempted to know my country and its people. And I dare say that I want to thank the former president for having identified me, knowing very well that I'm very difficult to work with. I hope I have not disappointed, but I've been to so many parts of this country, and it was a pleasure that perhaps my last public appearance should be just next to where I stay. I also, as I conclude, I wish each of you safe stay and God's blessings as you enjoy the music festival. It is now my pleasure to officially open the 94th Kenya Music Festival. Thank you very much.